You are a being of abundant love, health, and wealth. You are a manifestation of the divine. In a world where we are stripped of our authenticity, I am here to walk you home by reminding you of your ultimate power. I am Cassandra, the creator and artist of Magick of Eden. Welcome to my podcast, Magick of Eden, the journey to your highest version. On my podcast, I'll be featuring and performing my poetry. I'll discuss traumatic and heartwarming experiences and how we can use magic to help us reclaim our divinity and evolve along our spiritual journeys. I'll also pull tarot and oracle cards during some discussions and leave you with words of encouragement as you reclaim the god and goddess within you. I hope that through my passion and vulnerability that I am able to create a safe haven for you to thrive and transform. Hello, Calvin. How are you today?
Hello, I'm well. And yourself?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty excited to be talking to you today. So, what's going on? How was your day today?
It was a light day. Just some running around. Had to take care of a few things, but all in all, it was a good day. No complaints.
That's
What
good.
about yours?
Well, today I was actually very busy. I was preparing for our podcast and then I went to the store, did some mundane human stuff, here and there. So that was pretty much it. But I honestly really just want to get right into this podcast because I'm really excited here. And of course, we are going to be diving into BDSM and your intake on it and your thoughts. And we are going to be talking about BDSM. And I am so excited to be diving into your mind and, just kind of seeing more about how your mind works and your expertise and all that. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So, the first question that I want to start off is asking you, what does BDSM stand for those who are not familiar with kink?
So, for those who are unfamiliar with kink and BDSM, it stands for bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadism and masochism.
Mm. So bondage, discipline, dominant
Kink.
submission, and sadism and masochism. That sounds so intense. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So what's or who introduced you into kink? So, your initial reactions, your first impressions, kind of give us an introduction on your introduction.
So, my introduction came with my ex when I actually started dating. I need to say enough. That's kind of funny. I was 21.
Mm,
Um, we went out to a lounge. We had some drinks. I think we ended up walking past this store in the city, and she got really intrigued and said that she wanted to go in there. So we went in there. She started grabbing a few things, and sitting over there looking at her like, wait, never seen you grab this before. Like she grabbed the butt plug and everything. And like, wait, what you grabbing this for? She's like, oh, I'm going to see when we get back to the house. So we get back to the house and everything. And that's when she kind of, I guess, really broke out her first shell with me into a new comfortable phase where she was ready to submit and everything. And she let me know what kind of lifestyle she's been into, how long she's been into it, and she wanted to try that with me practicing at being her done. Um, like I said, it was a drunk night. He was probably 5 shots, 6 shots in on some dark liquor.
mm.
And you know what the dark liquor will do to you.
I've been there, definitely. It's a no for me.
So we gave it a shot. Um, she wanted me to tie her up and everything. And then she wanted to do it. And that was my first introduction to that as well. Uh, Needless to say, by the end of the night, I thought that that was one of the best experiences in my life. And 13 years later, here we are.
Wow. And that actually was going to be my next question was how long have you lived the kinky lifestyle? And you said about what, 13 years, right?
Yes, 13 years. I wouldn't say consistently. It's been on and off,
Hmm.
but I have always remained around it.
Okay. So basically you live the lifestyle when you can.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. That is really, really interesting. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and give you some insight on me, I suppose, since we are exchanging stories here. So for me, I really cannot pinpoint exactly when I started, being into BDSM or, practicing it and whatnot, but I will admit that ever since I started to engage in sexual activity, I've always just had this urge, this desire to be just completely overpowered. And this was before the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing came out, that movie.
Yeah,
And
I remember when that
before,
came out.
yeah, everybody was on it. Like I had a college roommate who just wanted to be so engaged in it. And I'm just like, wow, these are things that I did before this movie, but I guess,
I
no
feel
one's
like
knocking
that
it.
movie, and now granted, even though that movie opened the door for a lot of people to see something that they like, I feel like it opened the door for a lot of fake people who are not
Yeah.
really in the lifestyle to try to squeeze their way in. And it's kind of all over the place right now. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to throw
No,
that in
you're
there.
fine. No, you're good. You're good. Like I said, we're here to explore your mind and your expertise. And it's amazing that you mentioned that because that's something that we are actually going to be talking about towards the end of the podcast. So, for those of you guys that are listening, please listen to the end because you guys are just going to be like, wow. Anyways, so yeah, back to what I was letting you guys know. Yeah, like I said, I've just been into those types of sexual endeavors ever since I can remember. And it wasn't until the past, I want to say maybe 7 or so years, I consciously was engaging in this type of lifestyle. But for my own reasons, it was because I am doing my best to reach a state of totality. And I am in a process, of course, of exploring my shadow and the rejected aspects of myself, which in a sense drew me even deeper into BDSM because of, its magical purposes and things of that nature, which we're going to talk about later. Yeah, so there's my short story as to, how I got into BDSM. It's really just been those primal desires to be overpowered by a dominant. Anyways,
So
so
it's a good reason to explore.
say that one more time.
I said that sounds like a very good reason to decide to explore.
Yeah, the way that, I work and the way that my mind works, like I'm always trying to find something out and understanding, I'm always trying to understand the depths and the intensity of something. So, of course, me being very studious, I have to, in a sense, exercise my intellect in everything that I do. So, as a conscious creator or co-creator, I also like to be very aware of my actions and my experiences as I continue to evolve. So, yeah, that's definitely my vibe. So tell
AKA,
me.
folks, she likes to play with fire.
I do actually. I love fire, especially fire magic. It's the best. I've burned myself so many times, but it's all good. I love the heat of the moment.
No
Oh,
pun intended.
no pun intended. Pun intended, actually. So, what is your role in BDSM and why?
My role would be a dominant.
Typical. Just kidding.
The
Teasing.
reason why I say my role would be a dominant is for me, it's the feeling of being in power and having somebody hang on to your every word and your every action,
Mhm.
while you're also opening them up to new experiences. Because let's be 1,000% real, submission and BDSM can get a bit scary if it's done with the wrong person.
Mm.
Um, they can leave you physically harmed, emotionally damaged, a lot of different things because they themselves don't have balance. So when you find somebody who's willing to give complete control of their body and their mind to you and letting you open them up to new things that they would have never imagined going in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing that drew me into being a dom,
Mm-hmm.
especially seeing the look on my submissive's face when there's something new that she's never tried going on, but she's in pure bliss. Because it's like, yeah, I'm the one that gave that to you.
So it kind of, in a sense, and I'm just kind of pulling your leg, kind of, pulling the tiger's tail here. It inflates your ego a bit, right?
Yeah, definitely does stroke the ego.
Oh, okay. Mm. But in a healthy way.
Yes, in a healthy way. It doesn't make me feel like I'm now. Just because I'm in control of you does not mean that I control. Just
Mm-hmm.
because you gave me ownership of you does not mean that I actually own you. You,
Mm-hmm.
you get what I'm saying? There's a
Exactly.
fine difference and there's a fine line that you have to be able to walk. And there's a lot of people who can't seem to walk that line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets a little bit scary at. So when you find somebody who's truly willing to give up everything
Mm-hmm.
and just be completely relaxed, it's like, what more could you ask for?
Right. That is definitely something. And I love that. I love that. That is so amazing. And I guess I will just say that my role in BDSM, to be honest, I am a hardcore brat. I am a hardcore brat and I'm also a submissive. In fact, I believe that I'm a switch, but I guess we'll explore that. But my main role in BDSM, if I'm being serious, is submission. Now, the reason is because I display very dominant traits when it comes to the working world. For example, like I have a very intense managerial attitude and I'm more of a leader on an everyday basis. So for me, I am able to channel this part of myself that I don't in the everyday world. And I'm able to do this and exhibit these other traits through BDSM because I am comfortable with my partner, if that makes sense. So it gives me the space, in a sense, to pass on the responsibility to someone else while I get to not only explore my child self, I'm able to bring that aspect out so that I am to be nurtured in ways that I have not been nurtured before. So if anything, it works really well. Like I said, I'm just able to kind of channel those different energies and it's really amazing. For me, it is definitely a challenge, especially being someone who is learning how to step more in her feminine power. I am learning that sometimes, just being open and surrendering is an act of femininity simply because you're being open and receptive to the energy that is being given, if that makes sense. And being submissive is allowing me, in a sense, to explore these different avenues of myself, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It definitely is an enlightening experience for me simply because I am used to having a false sense of control. I am exposing the shadows here. So that is my role. And
It's almost like
also
it puts you in a corner to really face that.
it does. It absolutely does. And the brattiness really is just it's not just a test for them, but it's also me, in a sense, forcing my willpower in a very fun, creative, and sexy way. So yeah, that's
I
my
agree with that.
absolutely. So do you exhibit these traits in your everyday life or what's up? So like do you act dominant every day or is it something that you solely do in the bedroom?
I would say yes and no. Um, by nature, I'm a very relaxed and chill kind of person.
I can tell.
Um, but also, I'm quick to sense bullshit. And if I sense bullshit, then you're gonna feel my energy.
So basically you are channeling and diving into both masculine and feminine energies at will, basically is what I'm understanding, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. That's kind of hot, I'm not gonna lie. That's amazing. And so, how has being a dominant helped you in your mundane reality?
So it's funny that you asked me about the whole feminine and energy part. I would say that it's helped me in my mundane life because one, it helps me get past people's judgment. When I
Mm-hmm.
was younger, I used to really care a lot about people's opinions and what they thought, which in turn kind of hindered me from doing what it is I need to do. So, like the whole creative side of me, designing all of these different hats and putting them out there to the public, me designing these jerseys and these shorts and everything, you know? Without
Mm-hmm.
confidence in myself, how can I expect for somebody else to have confidence and care for my brand, you know? Um, so it's helped me to get past people's judgment. It's definitely helped me to assert myself more dominantly while still remaining in tune with my divine feminine spirit. Because naturally, I'm caring and loving, and I'm the type of person that will do anything for if I actually do love you. You know what I'm saying? But then we have that alpha slash masculine side that peaks out more. And that's when you can really see how bright the fire is.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is so beautiful. And and it's so amazing that you mentioned that because for people who have a big heart, they sometimes have a very hard time understanding boundaries. And so when you are, practicing, being more dominant, it's in a sense allowing you to protect yourself in a way that's not very forceful. In a sense, it's very healthy and it's like you mean what you say what you mean type of thing. And in the sense, it helps you I would like to say it kind of helps you solidify your identity as someone who is just not to be fucked with. And I think it's amazing that you have learned how to, how to master that. I think that's amazing. Having, several personal conversations with you, I can definitely say that it has served you very well, if I must admit. So that's pretty interesting. That's awesome, actually.
And what about you? How would you say that this is the submissive side of you has helped you in your Monday? Do you think it has, and how would you say it?
So, to be honest, yes, it has helped me tremendously. And I say that because I am someone who is naturally very outspoken. So I see a target and I hit it. Like I have King of Swords, Queen of Swords written all over me. And I had to, in a sense, kind of take a few steps back sometimes because there were times where I would be just so rooted and grounded in my own self to where it I could be very unmovable. And sometimes to me, that is very toxic. In a sense, it could be kind of toxic. It's like toxic masculinity where I would constantly like force my will, but because I was always in a space of feeling as if I had to protect myself. So being submissive in a sense helps me to speak when need be and speak with very specific intention. And it also allows me, in a sense, to embody this softness and this gentleness and this grace that I used to be afraid of showcasing to the world because I always felt like if I were doing so, I would be weak. But that's because I didn't understand one dimension or aspect of femininity. Not to say that femininity is all soft or it's all quiet or passive, but because feminine energy can be very destructive. You know what I mean? But being submissive in a sense helped me channel this trust, not in the other person, but more trust in myself, meaning that I have this ability to be open and receive whatever this energy is, but trust myself enough to know how to navigate through that and just simply be open and be open to the element of surprise. And Yeah, so being submissive, it really does help me to kind of open up and expand my mind in those ways. And that's how I would say it's helped me in my reality.
Mm, okay.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is just so amazing. Thank you for that introduction because I know that some people are very confused like on the topic and some people, they hear BDSM and it's like, "Oh shit, let's run." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's,
absolutely.
yeah, it's like one of those topics where you just kind of have to, it's so taboo like in front of some people. Like I remember for my example, like I know that some of my family members know that I'm kind of into that lifestyle, but they don't know the intensity of it. And I'm just like, good, not everything needs to be known by you guys, but
Mhm.
really good to bring light to these conversations. So, does any of your family or friends know that you're into BDSM?
Um, I wouldn't say that they do. It's not because I'm hiding it, but it's just not really a topic piece, you know? I kind of talked about with the same where I feel towards like sex life and now and have conversations with my parents and sex life and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousins, I might talk to them. I have actually no one person I can say.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
My
that's
yeah, my brother.
nice. It's just so amazing because when sometimes, like when I mention BDSM in like conversations, and I do this shit, I'm like notorious for doing this, by the way. Like I'll bring up like really taboo situations and like conversations just to kind of get people's reaction and see if they're open to it. And whenever I
Gotta
mention
love it.
BDSM, it's like, oh fuck, you're into BDSM? I would have never known that.
It's always like that one conversation piece that people are like, oh shit, I didn't know. Oh my god. Because they almost look at you like you're magical, but it's just like, no, you're just a little bit nasty. So
Oh yes, it is. Oh my goodness. That is something that I feel like I do kind of want to explore on this podcast because I mean we're adults here. And here on this podcast, for those of you that are listening, you guys already know that I don't want to filter out anything. We will not be censored how YouTube and Instagram and all that shit will censor us. So we are gonna be using all types of fuckery. We are going to be using all types of language. So if you guys are sensitive to sex talk, this is not the podcast for you because we're going to be going into some shit. Um, so I just want to kind of, give that little warning there, just so you guys know. But anyways, I am really interested to dive even more into you, if that is okay. So I want to kind of skip over and ask you some things about kink. That way you can give our audience hopefully an in-depth explanation of these questions. So I guess the first question would be, what is the purpose of punishment and kink? Because I know that some people hear punishment and they're just like, oh my goodness, no, like I don't want to be hit. Oh my God, like I don't want that. And it scares them off. So can you kind of give us like the details on the purpose of punishment?
so the purpose of it, okay. I'm gonna try two different ways. I'm gonna say how I have it in my head, and then I'm gonna try to break it down.
Okay.
So the purpose of punishment in BDSM is to keep your submissive basically in check. If she is, well, let me not say if she, because there are submissives that are men and there are submissives that are female. So
And there are also
if
some who are
they,
non-binary who are gender fluid, by the way, for those of you who are
yes,
to that. Mhm.
yes, my apologies.
It's all good, no worries.
Um, so they, if they are getting a little bit out of line in a sense, like that they're not your child, and I'm clearly aware of that. But with you being their dominant, they look at you in the role of leadership. When you are in leadership and you tell somebody what to do and they don't do it, does that not come with some form of disciplinary action? Like if you was
Absolutely.
at work, if you was at work and you showed up to work late 3 times in a row. The first time, I'm pretty sure that they're just gonna give you a little warning, right? No,
Hmm.
first time they ain't gonna say anything. Second time, they'll give you a little warning. Third time, disciplinary action comes and you might get a write up. So, in a sense, that's the same thing as a punishment BDSM was. Um, Depending on how severe the infraction is, will depend on the punishment that's given. Now, mind you, the punishment can also really just be something fun. It doesn't have to be something sadistic or anything like that. You know,
Hmm.
um, you can just really be in a mood to give your submissive some kind of punishment or whatever. Um, most forms would be things like bondage for X amount of time. It might be the submissive being humiliated or something like that. But it also depends on your dynamic with your other.
That does make a lot of sense. Now, I do know that for some people, they are hardcore sadists and they are hardcore masochists. So I guess the punishment will also be dependent on their ability to experience pain and gain pleasure from that. So you do have, from
So
my understanding, some punishments would be gagging. For example, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love being fucking gagged. Like that is just something that I just fucking oh my goodness. There's something about being gagged and choked. I'm just like, yes, give me all that energy. You know what I mean? So there's some forms like that, for example. And other forms of punishment would be like you already said, restraints, but I would also say hitting and spanking and impact play basically is what the term would be, impact play. Now some people are very intense with their impact play where they want to leave bruises and things like that, and I know that some people
marks.
call this marking their territory and things like that, and it's no judgment to them at all. I'm just saying that some people are very intense where they will hit and it will draw blood, and they'll be hanging from ropes for a very long extended amount of time, and some people will enact an edging, which for those of you that don't know, as a matter of fact, how about you explain edging, Calvin? Explain to us what edging
Edging, edging would be basically bringing somebody to the point of making them want to come, making them want to release, but telling them that they cannot release until you say so. See,
is.
now that could be another form of punishment right there. And
Exactly.
that's where the kind of sadistic, for me, that's me. I my sadistic side is more on the mental level because I would be the type of person to do that and tell you that you can't come and you ask me, but so you put down so hard that you want to come.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to choose between fighting the will to do that or to go off into this peaceful, blissful orgasm and deal
Wow.
with whatever punishment comes afterwards.
That sounds like me. I would totally just orgasm and be like, fuck it. I've never been edged before because I've always just gotten what I wanted because I'm just that brilliant. I'm kidding. But I've never been edged before though, seriously. And I don't know if you know what? That is something that I would like to explore. Because how dare you tell me that I can't come? I will orgasm right in your face. You know what I mean? So I'm like one of those people and like I'll take my punishment. And I'm definitely someone that puts up a mean fight. Like not in a way that's toxic, but in a way that I'm pushing your limits and you're pushing my limits type of thing. So To me, edging, it's like, fuck, like, how do you even like force someone not to come? Oh, that's another question. So, how do you prevent someone from coming when you tell them not to?
It all depends on what the punishment is. So for you, as somebody who likes gagging, it wouldn't be a smart punishment for me to say that if you come, then you gotta hold my dick down with all these asses. Because then you'll just be like, oh, I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to do something that one, they're gonna like, but two, something that's also pushing the limits and the boundaries.
Right.
Because you have to make them think twice. The whole goal of the punishment is to make them think twice and see if they really want to go through that at this very moment. Sometimes the answer might be yes, and it might just be worth it to them. So you can't back down as the dominant. Don't sit here and say you're gonna do a punishment and turn around and not do it because now you're just looking soft in front of your submissive. So you gotta
Mm.
follow through. But when you're done with it, you better have made sure that you did it in a manner to where she's thinking twice about disobeying what you said for the rest of the evening.
And that is so interesting because, and I'm only going to use myself as an example because I mean, I really don't know very many people into BDSM because I have yet to, explore even more with, groups and things of that nature. But from my experience, I am a person that, in a sense, gets off on being challenged. So I accept any and every challenge, if that makes sense. So if my dominant, for example, is someone who tries to make me think twice, I am someone who will say, okay, bet, let me do this and see what reaction I get. So I'm one of those people, like we said at the very beginning, I play a lot with fire. And so, how would you kind of navigate through that dynamic with someone who gets a thrill out of being defiant, in a sense?
Me personally, that's when I would have to implement a little bit of pain mixed in with the pleasure.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow.
It has to be something that's reminiscent. It has to be something that's essentially going to ring a bell in your mind to let you know, don't play me.
But I love that's so funny because I know that some people really do enjoy that type of behavior. You know what I mean? Of course, it's supposed to be enjoyable for everyone, but for the sense of punishment, it's supposed to be something that is not enjoyable, but you turn it into something that is. So it's kind of like alchemy, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So it's definitely a form of alchemy where you are transmuting these different types of pains into pleasures that help you transcend beyond the need to experience these types of pains, I guess. So that's definitely one thing
See,
that I would.
oh, also, I would like to say too, I feel like another reason for the whole sadist part in BDSM is that people don't understand that there can be a lot of blissful orgasms in between pain. Now, I'm not talking intense pain. I'm not talking anything that can be scarred. But the same way that the code says pressure burst pipes,
Mhm.
how does the pressure it so what when the pipe bursts, if the pipe was an organ and then that organ just burst, you don't think that that would hurt?
Oh, that's painful, actually.
I mean, but I use that to say that a little bit of pain mixed in with a lot of pleasure can help you break through to your highest peak.
Mm,
So you can't
wow.
be afraid of it because all the way. I understand being hesitant, but you can't be afraid.
But even if you were afraid, I believe that if you go through with that, it will help you in a sense conjure power that you didn't even know existed. So it kind of helps you get over that fear of being afraid, and you're able to conquer that fear and then also use that same energy out in the real world, where if you feel afraid of something, you take it on and you come with that same energy, and it enhances your overall experience. So I definitely do feel that. And it definitely does make a lot of sense when you say it that way. It really does.
I would definitely agree with what you just said because you got to think about it. Even now, this kind of circles back to one of the first things that I brought up, and me saying that I love the fact of I love the thought of somebody fully submitting.
Hmm.
So with that said, if you have a submissive and let's just say they do not fully submit to you, right?
Hmm.
So now you're trying to get them to do something that they're a little bit hesitant to do. Let's just say if it's something like that. Let's say you've never done it before and your dominant wants to explore that with you and everything. You're hesitant to do it, but you decide to give it a shot. He tells you that he gives you the whole rundown of everything, lets you know that you need to stay completely relaxed and this, that, and the third. And the moment that he gets ready to go inside, you tense up. And now you're in pain because you tense your muscles. Yeah, he is entering, so it's hurt. It's not
Mm.
supposed to hurt. So now something that could have been perceived as pleasurable is going to be perceived as a bad time. It's
Wow.
just like when people do edibles for the first time and they don't know moderation. You turn around and eat the whole cookie when you was only supposed to eat a piece of the cookie.
Mm. That is very true, because it's sometimes what people do is they enact on that fear, and then the fear is like a cancer where it overpowers and gets through everything, and it consumes everything, and then it turns, like you said, something that was meant to be pleasurable into something that is very painful and just distasteful. So that
Exactly.
definitely does bring up a very good point, and how you approach these situations. And for those of you that are listening, I would definitely say, remember to that when you're gonna try something, if you're interested in something and you're afraid, the first thing you want to do is breathe, because if you don't breathe, it's like everything, it throws you off balance. So just remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. Remember that you have X amount of control. You can only control your own reactions, and you can only control your own actions. So that definitely is a big one. And
Remember the safety words.
oh yes, the safety word. Oh my goodness. Be very creative with those safety words. Make it very obvious. I'm not gonna give my safety word because I feel like mine's private, but whatever. I really give my
Strawberries.
safety. Why?
Strawberries.
You are the worst. The worst. You are the worst. All right, guys. So we are going to take a quick ad break because I have something exciting to tell you all about Anchor. So we will be right back. Don't go anywhere because we have so much more to get into with this podcast. All right. All right. All right. So to continue on with this conversation, I just have to ask, because with some of the people that I've come across, they can be very forceful. And I really do want to kind of pick your brain on this topic. So, do you think that, or do you feel that submission is to be forced or earned, and why?
Should be earned because if it's something forced, then it's not genuine.
Mm,
Um, if you force your way onto somebody else, then there's a great chance that they're not enjoying themselves, so they're not fully engaging the way that you would want it to be. And if it's forced, they're doing it more so not because they're enjoying it, but because they feel like they have to or have no other choice. So when you back somebody into a corner like that, I think that really changes the dynamic.
I definitely have to say that I agree, because to be honest with you, sex or anything in general really is dependent on consent. Consent is definitely a non-negotiable, because at that point what you're doing is you are becoming very toxic and you are enforcing or forcing your will on someone who does not want this type of energy and who can't even really reciprocate that energy. So in a sense it becomes shadow projecting these different types of control situations onto other people. And in a sense, I feel like this sadistic type of desire, in a sense, is being misplaced and misguided. So I think it's really important to understand that not everybody wants to be not you, but like you're in general, you're submissive. I really do feel like it's very important to understand the energetic dynamic between two individuals or three or four, whatever. That energetic field is really important because it shows you, in a sense, how well these different energies kind of twine together, if that makes sense, or intertwine together, what have you. So I have to say that I agree 1000%. I do believe that submission is earned. And that leads me to my next question. How have you in the past earned a submissive submission?
By being honest, by saying exactly what my intentions are, um,
Mm,
and by being myself.
being yourself. Who is the self? I'm just kidding. Philosophical question here. Who am I? What am I here for? What am I here
There's a lot of depth.
for?
There's a lot of depth to that question.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's actually pretty cool. Like I said, I'm someone who is it's very hard for me to submit. It definitely takes a very strong mind to make me submit, because I think that some people believe that submission is dependent on physical strength. And in actuality, I feel like if you are someone who knows how to dive into someone's mind, you understand that it's really more about the mental, the intellectual, and the emotional aspect of it. So I think it's really important for an individual who claims to be a dominant to be able to travel through those dimensions of the mind first, because it's not all physical, if that makes sense. And to be quite honest with you, to kind of be a little nerd here, I do believe that the mind is separate from the body. So when you understand that the mind exists independent from the body, you know that it's mental first before the physical. Because as above, so below, the physical is simply just a byproduct of thought. So it's in a sense just a byproduct of the heavens. It is the heavens manifested in a slower vibrational form. So that's kind of my take on
Absolutely.
that. To just kind of be a little philosophical there, a little technical. But anyways, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate that. And I have to ask, I've really been trying my best to be on, my best behavior here, but it's really not in it's just not in me. I'm sorry. Not
It's not
sorry. I
enough
have
hard
to
for you
ask
today.
you. It's just so hard for me to keep this to myself. I have to ask you, what is your favorite form of punishment for your submissive?
Um, I don't know if I would really have a favorite one per se. That's actually a good question. Um, I have things that I might lean towards a little bit more. Like one thing that I definitely like to display and assert is my position as her dominant, or their dominant. So a lot of bondage, a lot of eye contact, and making you tell me something repeatedly over and over again. Um, I might do some rope training. Might decide one day I'm feeling a little bit more masculine and sadistic, like, and this, you know what? She's had a training before. She seems to like it, so now it's time to step it up a notch and make it a little bit more intense. It honestly all depends on what the situation at the moment really calls for.
Mm, I feel
Not
that.
every situation deserves the same punishment. So I feel like the best way to gauge it is to dictate based off of what it is that they did as their quote unquote infraction.
Wow. That's actually a very good answer. I love that. To be quite honest with you, because like you said, it doesn't take, the same thing because at that point it gets repetitive and then they get used to it and then it becomes boring and then it becomes irrelevant. So, or irrelevant, I should say. So that definitely does make sense. Now, I gotta know. I'm so nosy. I'm very nosy and I'm very intrigued. Do you have a favorite position or do you have a favorite thing to do during this sexual interaction?
Um, I eye contact is very big for me,
Mm,
and
beautiful.
her knowing her place and where we are, like me asserting the fact that she is my submissive and everything, and having her repeat that, so we both know that is true.
So it's like those affirmations that, in a sense, sink into the mind. So what you're basically practicing is are spells. You're casting spells. For those of you guys that don't know what a spell is basically something that you say in order to bring about a certain type of energy, to harness a certain type of energy, or to provoke a certain type of energy, if that makes sense. So affirmations are definitely spells. And what Calvin is saying here is that he makes sure that the submissive knows that she belongs to him. And having her repeat those things, in a sense, it's like, in a sense, chanting, where you are saying these things. I'm not saying that you do this over and over again, but it does help
No,
to,
I get what you're saying. It's a mantra.
yeah, like a mantra, exactly. And that's the magical aspect of it, which we're going to get into a little bit later. And please, if you do not mind sharing with the audience, and I'll also share some of mine, but what are some of your kinks if you're comfortable with answering that question?
So I would say one of them for sure, not receiving, but more giving, anal. Another one would be receiving and giving oral. Um, I like to practice in bondage. Um, I like to practice in verbal humiliation to an extent. Um, let's see what else. Can't really think of anything else off the top of my head right now.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate it. Some of your kinks, we sounds like we do kind of have some of those in common. And I just wanted to kind of take the floor a little bit. Even though this is about you, I do want to kind of share mine so that I am keeping it a little bit interesting to the listeners here. So, actually, no. Before I get into that, I would like to ask you, so tell me about one of your favorite kinks and why you enjoy the kink so much and how you, in a sense, how it helps you dive more into yourself, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like what, three questions?
No, it does make sense. For me, it would definitely be the anal training, and the reason why is because I feel like with that, um, you're first off helping them to explore the territory about themselves. Second off, you are, in a sense, in a sense, you're opening them up to something new, and you're watching the pleasure that it brings to them.
Mm,
It's not more so about the pleasure that it brings me. It's really about the pleasure that I get from you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like I remember before I wanted to have a threesome, and my ex could never understand why it is that I wanted to do it. She thought that I was just being, like a typical guy saying that I want to have a threesome. But when she actually realized that I was more so coming from a place, sorry about that.
No worries.
When she realized that I was more so coming from a place of wanting to see her pleasure, not more so making it about mine, but seeing her get pleasure from something that she would have never thought, you know?
Right.
It gave her a different perspective and a different understanding of where I was coming from. So what once could have been perceived as a very selfish act or something that I'm trying to force on her, she viewed in a completely different manner.
That really does make a lot of sense because at that point, what you're doing is you're allowing, a safe space for the other person to, in a sense, deflower and unravel certain things that they were also uncomfortable with. And I think that's definitely the main elements here, or one of the main ingredients when you are engaging in BDSM. It's all about unraveling and kind of, in a sense, confronting the demons that reside within the shadow. And I use the term demon very loosely here. So thank you for sharing that. That's actually very beautiful. And I'm going to go ahead and take the floor here for a little bit. So some of my kinks are just, pretty, I like to call normal, but what is normal, right? So of course, you have the the casual hair pulling and things of that nature. Oh, I love that. There's just something about it. I just love it. In very certain spots that I'm not going to mention here, but I would definitely say hair pulling, and I have to definitely say that impact play is something that I really, really, really do enjoy. I love impact play. I love degradation. Like I just love it all. Like there's something about being degraded. You know what I mean? Like I don't know I know what it is. It's because honestly, when you are engaging in BDSM, you're obviously bringing awareness to certain traumas that you suppressed, some people from childhood, some people from, teenage years and, even in their adulthood. So for me, being degraded sometimes, like when I was younger, I ended up transmuting that into something that is pleasurable. And ever since then, I have really just been into that whole dynamic. Um, of course, I love being choked, I love being restrained. I love being, in a sense, I love humiliation. I like to
There's
be
nothing
like
wrong with that.
I love to be humiliated. I don't know what it is. It's just like this thrill and this rush to of just being complete. It's like it puts me in a spot where I'm just extremely vulnerable, and it's the thrill of the unknown that excites me. As a person who is always actively diving into my own shadows, of course I'm entering into unexplored dynamics and dimensions of myself. So naturally, having that initial fear of the unknown is so exciting and it just turns me on. Like I love it. And of course, I will say that and I feel like I've said this before, I really love being gagged. And it's just something about it is just so sexy to be receiving something that, oh man.
See, that's what really gets your blood going.
It really does. Just like making eye contact and seeing his face and seeing how pleasured he is, and just the sounds that it makes, and the slurping sounds, the gagging, the choking, and the moans, and all of these different sounds, these different elements go into, and it plays a major role in pleasure. And just seeing this,
Well,
him just being pleasured is just so amazing to me.
well, hold on, man. You got me ready to come on over.
Well, that's the point. It's the point of
Very intrigued here.
I'm very intrigued, right? Like it's just something that
Right.
just I don't know. know what it is. Like it's just something that just comes really natural to me. Like I am just when I'm in it. And it's just, even though I'm in such a vulnerable spot, in a sense, it does give me a form of control because I feel like at that point, I'm in a sense making him vulnerable. And for me, having been in spots, that I'm, submissive and vulnerable, it's like he reciprocates that energy by being more open. And it's like I have him right where I want him, and it's like I'm going in for the kill. So for me, it's really exciting and exhilarating to have that control. I'm a control freak, as you can see.
I see, but it's not an unhealthy way.
Right, right. It's just so amazing to me. But yeah, um, I have to also say that I love being slapped.
Mm,
That is something that I
like
just.
a
Mhm.
like a little good slap around every now and then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like if I'm talking shit, and you just can't handle it, slap me one good time and say, bitch, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm here for that energy.
So now I have a
Absolutely.
question for you. Are you the type of person that enjoys being spit on or spitting?
To be honest with you, I have never been spat on, but I'm here for it. Like, I know it's very primal. I know it's one of those things where it's kind of like taboo, but I also kind of feel like from my understanding, when someone spits on you, in a sense, they're in a sense exerting their dominance. So that's what I have to say. It's really interesting to me. But like I said, I've never been spat on, and I'll fight him. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, completely understandable though. I mean, if it is a different dynamic if you're somebody who is not used to it, it can be perceived in the wrong way, you know? So the fact that you can look at it from two different angles is not a bad thing because you're right. The first way that you view it is ego kind of tends to kick in a little bit and say,
Mhm.
like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
then after the ego part kicks in and it goes away, then you never know. You might find a little bit of pleasure. Some people do, some people don't.
And I feel like honestly, it would be me in a sense, kind of exploring my heart limits, if that makes sense. So yeah, like that would definitely be a hard limit for me, but I'm definitely, in a space where I'm more open and receptive to understanding it more. So yeah, like I would love to see the reaction. Like I would love to see my initial reaction for being spat on. Like it's
But
just, man, the thrill of it. Like I feel really thrilled right now. Like I just feel like a rush of excitement. Like, now I want to go try it.
got you intrigued to do it.
Yes, I am
See,
very
and
intrigued.
that's what a good dominant is supposed to do.
Oh.
If you're dealing with a dominant that does not make something that you don't do on a normal basis
Hmm.
sound intriguing, I know everything won't sound intriguing. There's a difference. Not everything will catch your eye. Not everything is something that you would want to try or whatever. But if your sub can't get you to try to like something, then you might not be doing his job as a dominant.
Wow. You think so?
Literally. That's
Wow.
a
Sorry
different
about that.
perspective, right?
It is definitely a different perspective. Sorry about that. Something was going on here, so I had to kind of like get that straightened out. But yeah, so that definitely is a very interesting perspective, if we're gonna be honest. I didn't really know that I had dominant tendencies in the bedroom. But I actually, you know what? I have to kind of give you a short story. So there was someone who is trusted, of course, a trusted sex partner. He was before. And I remember writing this man. I know it feels kind of weird that we're talking about it. Well, no, it doesn't. But for those of you that are listening who are just now entering into this side of me, I know it's kind of like, wow, but just hear me out. We're all adults here. So I was writing this man, and just like the look on his face, I wanted more from him, even though he was giving me what he could. I wanted to edge him. So I was just riding the shit out of this man. And he's one of those people that, are open to whatever. So I remember just looking at him and I just started choking him and I started riding him even harder. And he was just like, oh my God. And when I tell you, this man busted everywhere, it was like a fucking waterfall of just cum everywhere. And it was just so wild. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I had no idea that I was that intense. So, the idea of me being a switch is definitely not a far-fetched thing. So I think that's pretty interesting that you mentioned that. So thank you for actually.
So with that said, I'll actually give you a little story too.
Okay.
I was with the same ex that had introduced me into BDSM, right?
Hmm.
So one thing that I used to also kind of dabble into a little bit. I can't say all things, but I was never afraid to experiment with different drugs and everything. I would always look up the chemical makeup of drug and everything before trying it, making sure it's not something that can harm me, making sure it's not something addictive. So, with all of that said, I there was a little time frame in my 20s where I was indulging in Molly and everything.
Hmm.
So me and my ex took Molly that no, I took Molly. She didn't. This is my second time doing it. I took it. I was hanging out with one of my boys and whatever. 2 hours go by while I'm on it, and I'm like, yeah, nah, I gotta go back to the crib. So he's coming me back towards her house and everything. I
Hmm.
go inside and we just started talking all kinds of crazy. And when I say, first off, I've never had a round that has lasted from 11 at night till literally 6 in the morning. And that is no over exaggeration, no
What?
nothing.
Wow.
Two, I that was literally the very first time that I have ever made somebody cry because they're getting so good. She literally had tears rolling down her face, begging me not to stop. And I was just hitting that right spot over and over, 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 over. I have never made somebody squirt the way that I made her squirt back in the because those sheets were completely done for, even with the towels on the bed and everything.
Wow. That sounds really intense. My goodness.
Yeah, it was an extremely intense night that definitely came with a toll the next day. We were both extremely exhausted and sore in so many different spots. We couldn't even fathom
Hmm.
it.
I can imagine.
But that right there is something that I just fell in love with. And that's another thing that kind of made me realize that I was more so into being a dominant, or that was my role in BDSM. Because anytime that I would take the Molly and whatever, the way that I felt so primal and that alpha energy that I carried at that time, it kind of felt like this was a part of me that I never knew really existed, you know?
Exactly. And to be honest with you, you sound like someone who's definitely more of a teacher. And I can tell by the way that we are interacting and by the experiences that you have been sharing with with the audience. You seem to be someone who actively, pursues these virtues, and you're one who takes these lessons and implements them in your everyday life. And you really do seem like someone who's all about not only pleasuring yourself, but the other person as well. And I think that's something that is really important when it comes to BDSM and sex in general, or just this whole overall idea of being selfless. I think sometimes we get kind of, well, people get kind of wrapped up in the self and in their own ego to where they forget that it's more than just about them. And I think the
I,
important thing that I'm learning from you is that even in BDSM, it's just an amazing thing to where you can make it more about the other energy. And when you take that out into the world, you can then start to understand and become more aware of, other people more than just yourself. So, like, not even just other people, but, other types of organisms on the planet. And I think it definitely
absolutely.
does help to, raise your consciousness and your energy to help the collective. And I think it's something that is really important. So, shout out to you, Calvin. That is fucking dope. Like, and this is why I fuck with you, because you are someone who is not, selfish and rooted in his ego, but you are someone who has the ability to kill his ego in order to get to where he needs to go. So, like I said, man, shout out to you. You are just hot in so many ways.
Thank you know what? I have a really, really good question for you.
Okay, I'm down. I'm up for the challenge. What's up?
Seeing how you are a person of spirit and you completely understand energies and everything,
Right.
and being in this shadow realm of BDSM, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that it is possible for you to love somebody's energy but not love the person? Like, I'll break it down in more of a few sentences. I was having a conversation with somebody recently. I was telling them that you can you can be with somebody and then meet somebody else, and you two, or possibly you three, could have this kind of connection, but it's not love, it's not lust, but it's something you want to share. Like, you feel like you want to share something with that other person, whatever, in a sense.
Hmm.
Do you think that it's possible to, I guess, love somebody's energy? And do you think that there are people who are out here that are energy whores?
To be honest with you, I'm going to answer the second portion of that right away. Absolutely. There are people there who are energetic vampires, is what we call them. So, what they do is they go out and then they experience different people, and then it's like they drain and they suck the life out of everyone else because they're looking to fill in their own void because they're not actively working through their own shadows. So, that's really just to kind of pinpoint that question and kind of put the hammer on that. Now, to go to the first question, excuse me, I hope that I can answer this adequately here. So, I feel like it's definitely a way for you to love someone or have respect for them and things of that nature without being or engaging with them romantically, because love is love regardless. And love is the spirit that transcends all time. And love is the reason this universe exists. Of course, not speaking in mathematical terms here, but from a spiritual perspective, love is everywhere, it's in everything. It is a life force that keeps us going and things of that nature. So, to be quite honest with you, I do believe that you can experience these, different people without having such a romantic attachment to them. Like, I can love someone, but I don't have to be in love with them, meaning that I don't have to want to be with them or, want them to be my divine partner or anything like that. It could just mean that I love your vibe, and this is one of those things where I kind of have to nitpick because, like, are we using the word love loosely here? Or are we just trying to express the fact that we are really intrigued and we really appreciate this person's energy? And because we appreciate that person's energy, we want to know more about them and we want to explore more for our own gain here. So, really, this is kind of a question of intent. Like, what is the intention that you have to experience this person? If that makes sense. So, in a sense, it kind of goes back to, like I said, the intention, but as
I
someone who's
guess in the aspect, it's like a aspect of, like, you don't want to be with the person,
Mhm.
but you know for a fact that you don't want to be with the person. Like, that's not what your energy What do you say?
You don't want the commitment, but you want the experience.
Exactly.
I 1000% believe that is possible. And here's why. So, one of the things that I have learned very, very quickly is the power of detachment. And you can love something very deeply and smile when it leaves. And you can have a true understanding of detachment, meaning that you are not allowing yourself to fall into the thorns of expectation, meaning that you're not allowing yourself to fall into the lap of expecting for this person to be there to feel how you feel. Or, it's like you're keeping yourself, I don't really want to say protected in a sense because you don't there's no reason really to be defensive, but in a sense, it's more of like you're allowing yourself to not be so deep into them to where you become lost in them, and then this becomes your identity, if that makes sense. So I kind of
No,
feel
it
like
completely
it's
does.
yeah, like I feel like to be honest with you, from the top of my head, I can say that it's something that's very powerful, but you also have kind of have to understand and know if you're doing this or if you're using detachment as a form of escapism, or are you doing it because you simply want to have the experience without the attachment. And I honestly really do think that wanting to experience something without or someone without being completely attached to them is definitely an okay thing because you have this understanding that some things are seasonal while some things withstand the test of time. So for me, I have to say that I've had a dynamic where I definitely did not want to be with this person. However, I enjoy being around them. I enjoy their company. I enjoy their energy. I enjoy reciprocating this energy to this person. But I know in my heart, and I know that with my intuition, this is not my divine partner. I am meant to experience this experience through this person. And to go a little bit deeper, I do truly believe that you, me, my neighbor, the dog down the street, the cat, in the tree or whatever, we're all experiencing each other through each other. So I'm experiencing myself through you, and you are experiencing yourself through me. And so I feel like with this dynamic of detachment, in the moment, it's like it teaches you to be in the moment, if that makes sense.
I feel that.
So I'm so happy to have been able to share that with you. And thank you for even bringing that up because this is actually going to be leading me to the next point here because I feel like now would be appropriate to kind of get into the psychological and magical components of kink. And so my question to you, my friends, would be, do you believe and do you agree that there are psychological and magical components of kink?
I did. Me personally, I use this kind of as a sense of therapy. Um, kind of just for a lot of the things that I have been through. Um, so the dominance kind of helps me to release a lot in a weird way. It helps me to release a lot of pent up aggression, frustration. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like where somebody might have pissed me off outside to where I feel like I'm ready to fight because I'm a Scorpio. Um, I kind of have learned to channel that energy and place it elsewhere. So instead of me doing that act of fighting somebody and beating their ass or whatever, then I might just use that in tonight's session between me and my submissive. But obviously, I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
it's just a way to release.
Mm. That it is. That it is. And I have to 1000% agree. It is definitely a way to release these built up aggressions and these traumas and things of that nature. And to me, that definitely is a magical aspect of kink because in a sense what you're doing, and it's not even just about magic. To me, it has a lot more to me, dealing with alchemy and magic, alchemy and shadow work, actually. I mean, obviously by now the listeners know that this is definitely an active form of shadow work. And the reason why I say that I believe that it has alchemy attached to it, because the whole idea of alchemy is you transmuting and you becoming solidified into your actual being or your higher self through, actively overcoming these obstacles, and you breaking down the ego, and you releasing the impurities, and you taking out these impurities, and you filtering out these impurities of the self, and you integrating the shadow aspects and all of that. So there definitely is a magical and an alchemical aspect to BDSM. And if we're going to be honest, while we're on the subject, I have to say that I do believe that actively engaging in BDSM is definitely a way to enlightenment, simply because you are uncovering things in the subconscious, and you are bringing these things to light, and you are integrating the subconscious and the conscious mind, in a sense, sometimes almost simultaneously, especially when you're acting out of intuition in these moments, and you are bringing yourself to a place of sovereignty and freedom by acknowledging these things, but
Absolutely.
not even just acknowledging them, but accepting them and integrating them into a part of your essence. Because mathematically speaking, we are a walking embodiment of the number zero. And to kind of break that down without getting too much into that, is we are both made of shadow and light. And the shadow aspect will be the negative charge, and then the light aspect will be the positive charge. And what happens when you have a negative and a positive? They come together and it
Cancel
works
each
just
other
like
out.
a
Yeah.
battery. And I feel like by us integrating these things, we are in a sense, conjuring this rejected power that, can be used to, benefit the world. And the reason why I say that it's a lot of shadow work involved is because my whole philosophy is that if you are actively working with the shadow, you are preventing yourself from shadow projecting, and you are, in a sense, keeping down the unnecessary suffering for other people. So you're not actively engaging in this perpetual cycle of unnecessary suffering. And in a sense, I feel that if more people were into these taboo things, I do feel that, excuse me, people would, in a sense, become more open to experiencing people's differences, and the world would be a lot better, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
absolutely.
So that was a mouthful, but that definitely
But
does.
I will go further to say one other thing too. I feel like the I feel like one huge thing that's missed by people in this sub and dom dynamic that a lot of people don't tend to analyze that you kind of covered just a little bit earlier. Let's just say you and your sub try something that she at first wasn't originally comfortable with, right?
Mhm.
But then now she tries it, she finds enjoyment or whatever. It's more than just her finding enjoyment in a sexual act. What you could have potentially done is opened up her mind to other things and whatever, and making her feel comfortable with trying other things because she might relate that fear that she thought that she was going to get from that act in those everyday situations of her life. So now she's coming out on the other side much stronger, much more resilient, you know?
And more liberated.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, this world, the world that we live in now, like if you're here and you're born on this planet, you know that you came here to not only be seen, but expand your consciousness and to learn through these experiences. And, through kink, I do feel like it makes you comfortable with the uncomfortable. And in a sense, it kind of forces you to have a seat at the table of your own subconscious. Just like for anyone who has ever done mushrooms, for me, for example, not to stray off topic, but I'm gonna bring it around full circle here. When you're on shrooms, to me, from my experience, is that you are literally sitting at the table of your own subconscious, depending on how many grams you take. And then if you're taking like heroic doses, you, in a sense, are tapping into different dimensions. But to bring it around full circle, when you are engaging in these different types of activities, you are literally staring through your own shadows, and you are uncovering these different layers that have been unexplored. And just like with mushrooms, you can, if you have the intent to heal, you, in a sense, can remain the observer and pay attention to what is being shown, and then apply these lessons to your own life and to become not even a better human, but in a sense to just self actualize the same way, at least I do with shrooms. So I think there's definitely some beauty in the pain, as you mentioned earlier. There's definitely beauty and some pain there, especially when you are on a journey of self actualization.
Absolutely. I can definitely agree with that. And you put it very well.
Why, thank you. I appreciate that.
Very well.
Oh, okay. You sound kind of intrigued here. I hope I'm not getting you into any trouble.
I'm very intrigued right now. Who knows? It might be some good trouble. You might welcome
Oh, wow. Don't tell me what a good time. Don't tell me what a good time. That is so amazing. But definitely, like, it definitely is a mental dance that, people take when they're engaging in kink. And there's just so many beautiful things and, so many different taboos in kink. Like, I know there's one taboo in kink where, it's about age play. I actually made a story about this, about age play and things like that. And I have
Is
to
that your forte?
say that one more time.
I said, is that your forte? You into that?
I am not into age play, but I'm not gonna knock it and I'm not gonna judge it because I do understand that some people, it's not always sexual with some people. It's more of a mental thing and it's more of a way for people to, in a sense, explore the childlike behavior. Children are absolutely not involved for people who are listening who don't understand this type of a kink. Children in no way, shape, or form is involved. And if you know someone or have heard someone speaking of children in this way or have seen it, then you need to report that to the authorities. And if I hear it or see it, it will be reported. But anyways, I
Report
had
it
to
to
kind
me
of
so
say
I can come through and handle that person.
that. Civil arrest.
I don't know if it's gonna be an arrest, but we just gonna
Oh,
leave
man. Man,
it
tell me about it. Like, man, like if you can be a pedophile, you can catch these hands. What's up? I feel that.
listen,
But
listen.
no, on a
The
serious note,
sadistic
guys,
side comes out in a different way,
in a
but
different
that's another
way.
conversation for another
For a
day.
different time. And it has to me, it's nothing to do with sadistic pleasure. It means protecting children. So
Absolutely.
let's keep it real for a second. But yes, to be serious, you guys, and to be professional, yes, if you hear or observe anything that is, of sexual misconduct towards children and minors, you want to report that. But anyways, getting back to the point, age play really has to do with someone acting another age, and it's typically done with people who are significantly older and people who are who act like they're significantly younger most times. So what makes it kind of uncomfortable for people is the fact that you'll find people using pacifiers or wearing diapers and wearing onesies and footsies and like all these different things to, in a sense, give you this energy of innocence. Now, some people, don't get me wrong, are very sick and they do get off on children, on children, but because they know it is a crime and it's a crime and it's also very fucking disgusting. Yes, I'm judging. It's fucking nasty.
Very frowned upon and will get you fucked up.
Exactly. It's very fucking frowned upon. They, in a sense, take that desire and they implement it in a way that is safe for themselves and everyone else. So that is a responsible thing to do. So I personally feel that age play is very responsible. And I encourage age play to keep the children protected, but to also allow that person in the room to express these desires in a way that is comfortable, even though they may, be comfortable with this type of fuckery, as I want to call it. But the higher aspect of me is like, Cassandra, stop fucking judging. Not even, but the human aspect of me is
Well,
like,
no,
this shit's
I get
nasty.
what you're saying
Like, you know what I
because
mean?
at the
Yeah,
end of the day, listen, there's certain I understand not judging people and everything, but sorry, not sorry, you're not gonna get me to ever understand you wanting to touch a child in
exactly.
any way, shape, or form, other besides something that's loving or protecting, you know?
Exactly. And to me, it's just, it's honestly, it's a very disgusting thing. But you know what? That actually really brings up a very good topic here because I want to ask you, since you have such an amazing way and thoughts about kink, Do you believe that BDSM can be a form of escapism for some individuals?
I do. I feel like some individuals can. Okay, I'm gonna put it like this. I feel like anything that we do that we enjoy because we are human, we are subject to fault. And what I mean when I say that is anything to the human can technically become an addiction.
Mm,
So you can get too caught up in it and not know when to say, all right, it's time for me to be my regular daily self. You know, I understand implementing certain aspects of your dominance or submissiveness in your daily life. I completely understand, you know, but not every element or
mhm.
every aspect needs to be displayed in daily life. And I feel like people tend to use anything as a crutch. So I do believe that it is definitely possible for people to view it as something that they can get addicted to or overdo on. Of a good thing is still unhealthy.
Right. Exactly, because there needs to be some element of balance.
Hmm. One thing that I was actually I was having this conversation with one of my family members earlier, and we were talking about weed actually, because he likes to roll big splits. And I can say it in this same consensus. A lot of people don't they rather go the high or the low. It's either I'm either all the way in or I'm not in at all.
It's
But
like no gray area. Mm,
one problem that we don't practice enough is discipline.
mm, I love that. Wow. That is so deep. Like that definitely is deep because there is a level of discipline needed for, pretty much almost anything you do in a sense, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And in terms of
absolutely.
BDSM, it's so amazing, Calvin, that you say that and you put it in that way because to me, I feel like people use BDSM as a form of escapism because they're not disciplined. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
for example, like I would say that someone who's a brat, for example, right? So allow me to get a little bit technical here, and I know that we're all adults here. We can understand, right? So, for example, for me, being a brat is more of an art and a skill used to bring about a certain punishment that I like and or to entice my dominance to punish me because I love to receive punishment. I love being punished, right? So there are some things that I will say or do to get under the person's skin. For example, if I were told, cook dinner right now, I'll say, okay, cool, I'll go cook and then I'll burn it just to piss them off, but also still have dinner separated to make sure we still eat. But it's that act of burning some of the elements or some of the dinner to be punished. Now, the point that I'm making here is that some people use brattiness and they use this dominant role just because they're assholes and they really truly don't care about the other individual. So
Absolutely.
some people will be submissive and be like, oh yeah, well, maybe we should move together. Next thing you know, this person's running up your fucking credit card bill while claiming the fucking title of a submissive. And it's like, yo, like, you're just
You're
fucking
just there to
broke.
spend money.
Like, right,
Hmm.
like you're just fucking broke and you're just trying to get like a free ride here. Like you're not
And
using
that's
your gifts and talents to help yourself. You know what I mean?
I think that that's something that I was more so mentioning towards when we were having that conversation about the movie 50 Shades of Grey, when I was saying that
Mm,
people who don't really live the lifestyle are starting to try to enter into this space as if they have been a part of it. what I've personally seen is a whole bunch of females, even males. I've seen. I'm just gonna limit it there, but I've seen a whole bunch of females who are not active in this lifestyle, claiming to be a femdom, just so that they can essentially have somebody give them some fucking money. And I think that that's so corny because what it really says, while there's females out here who have their own whatever, I'm not trying to come at anybody, but if you are constantly looking to use somebody else's money, to me, it says that you don't have the capability to do anything. Because there's a million ways to make money out here. So why am I paying you for something realistically that I could get for free? I know that at the end of the day, at the end of the day, as a man, I am still paying whoever I'm still paying for the pussy in some way, shape, or form. But I do not want to literally, physically hand you money and say, thank you for the pussy.
Like, to be quite honest.
To be quite honest with you.
Right.
I understand the whole sugar daddy thing or whatever, but don't come around talking sugar daddy terms in a BDSM space. Because those are not the same things. That just shows that you don't really have an attraction to this community. You just have an attraction to some people's wallets in the community.
And to what they can actually just simply give you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I was having a conversation with my little cousin last night, and I was telling him a saying that I've always lived by, which is, once you slept with one dime, you slept with them all. And what that saying means is all of these females who got the fattest asses, super big titties, they all care about the exact same things. So if I can use this tactic to bag you, that means I can use the same tactic to bag all these other quote unquote bad bitches out there. But a real woman is going to make it a lot harder than that. But I don't just want a bad bitch as a submissive. I want somebody who can intrigue my intellect, who can challenge me to be a better dom.
And this is where I kind of have to nitpick just a tiny little bit, because although I do understand what you're saying, I do feel like it's also imperative to understand that to me, it is okay for a woman, or whether she calls herself a bad bitch or not, to, make it easy if she wants to, because in a sense, she's extending her power because she wants to. But at the same time, I will have to say that, yes, I do believe that there is a certain, type of person that has a specific intent and goal. And so what they do is they do use BDSM as a survival tactic. And that's not what BDSM is supposed to be. Because the whole point is to get out of the element of survival and enter into a space of thriving. So it's like, to use BDSM, in a sense, to try to just survive, you're not necessarily challenging yourself to utilize your power and project that will out into the universe in order to manifest, because manifestation will test the fuck out of you. It will test your patience. It will test your intellect. It will test your ability to receive. It will test your ability to, not settle for less. It will test how much you give into self-care. So I feel like, yes, I definitely do agree that it will definitely showcase your greatest strengths and weaknesses, but some people are doing this for, I really can't even say the wrong reason, but they're just doing it in a sense that they're coming from a space of lack, and they're not adding
They're
any
not
value.
doing it for exactly. Now,
Right.
I'm not going to say that every female that is claiming to be, let me not even use the word claiming. I'm not trying to say that every female who says that they're a femdom or dominatrix is the type, is a fake. That is not what I'm saying in the slightest bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am saying is that since the movie 50 Shades of Grey has come out,
Mm-hmm.
it has definite the rise of fandom and dominatrix has risen by at least 30 to 40%. And half of them don't even know a vocabulary in the community.
So they can't really even tell you what impacts play is, or what anal training would be, or what the purpose, like how we're having this conversation here, how we understand the lingo, how we understand the linguistics of it. They really can't. Some of them really just can't. I feel that.
Exactly, because
I
they don't live it in any way, shape, or form. The only time they live it is if somebody is catching.
I feel that, and that to me, to me, it's just a terrible waste of gifts and talent. I mean, in a sense, you have to be kind of creative and manipulative to try to make someone believe that you're really into this lifestyle. So in a sense, you have to be a master of illusion in some senses. But you have some people who can see right through that shit because they're magicians themselves. And it's like, no, you're not gonna get over on me. I know what you're trying to do here because, like, not to say that I've been there, but to say that as a person who's an energy worker, you have to understand and navigate through the intangible. And so it takes really understanding and being intellectual and diving into the person's mind. And this is the reason why I feel that conversations are really important when it comes to BDSM and before you engage with these people, because if you're not, then what you're showing is that you also lack the knowledge and should you be doing this either? Because you're entering into the shadows, you're entering into unknown territory here. And if you're not careful, it can be fatal, can
Yes, it can.
1000% be fatal. So that's definitely something I think is important. When
This
you're
community can derail you extremely hard. And
Mhm. Absolutely. And and since we're on the subject here, because I know we're going to be wrapping this up in just a little bit, my question to you would be, what are some red flags to look for in individuals who use kink as a form of escapism? Like how do
um
you protect yourself by when a person is um using kink as a form of escapism? I hope that makes sense.
no, it does. One red flag for me is if we've been talking for a whole week
Mhm.
and it's literally just one topic based. For BDSM 24/7, that means that that kind of shows to me that you don't really have anything going on in your reality other besides that.
Right.
Uh, I guess I would also determine it by the length of time that you've been in the community. Because if you've been in the community for 6 months, but yet you got swings, ropes, this, that, like you done spent $20,000. You know what I'm saying? Like that might
Mhm.
be a little, might be a little bit of a flag right there. Like, why are you going so deep into? Why are you diving so deep? It just anything that just doesn't feel right
Mhm.
or makes you second guess it. You might want to sit down with the person and figure out what their real intentions are, and make sure that they're okay mentally first, because that is the number one thing to anything in this community. If that person is not mentally stable, then it could really, really, really be a huge problem. Imagine dealing
Mhm.
with a dominant that's not mentally stable and he has you in bondage at the moment.
And what if he has, or what if he, she, they, you
Or
know,
that,
has,
yes.
yeah. So like, what if this person, this individual has schizophrenia? You know what I mean? It's like you have to be able to know what you're dealing with. And like Calvin said, it's really important for you to use your intuition and then go
Mhm.
in with your intellect to question, why this, why
Now,
that, you know what I mean?
because he has schizophrenia, I'm not saying that that should be an X or reason to why he cannot be your dominant. If he's a
Oh, of
schizophrenia,
course.
but
No,
he's
no,
on
no, no,
his
no.
medication,
Mhm.
then that's completely one thing.
Excuse
But
my French. Let me clear
also,
that up real quick. I apologize. So I don't mean to say that that people who have mental health conditions are not worthy of engaging in this type of activity. So for anyone who had kind of like an ear sore from that, I apologize. That's not my intent. So what I should say is that if this person is unbalanced and also does have these types of conditions, then that
there we go.
would be a
That's
red
where the red
flag.
flag.
That's what the red flag. It's not because he or she or they have schizophrenia. It's if they have it, in addition to not taking care of themselves or not actively doing their part in, in dealing with it in whatever way is effective to keep themselves safe and the other person safe.
If you're dealing with somebody who has schizophrenia, I feel like now this might be a little bit more of a step than most submissives would do, but this also kind of shows you the submissive that you have if she does this. Let's just say I was somebody who dealt with schizophrenia. Right?
Same
My
guy. Yeah.
submissive knew that I took medication. So let's just say I spoke to her about not trying to utilize my medication for a while, so I wanted her to monitor that. We're in communication about it. We're talking about it. So if anything starts to go left, she knows. She knows exactly what to do. But if you're in a situation where you just are dealing with the dominant and they decide that they don't want to take the medication and then they want to engage in some acts with you, how could you feel 100% safe?
Hmm.
So, like I said, everything is about being safe, comfortable, and knowing that if you do this act with this person, you will be okay.
Funny because the fact that we're on this subject just kind of reminds me of like the internet dom, the internet submissive. If I had a
Oh boy.
penny for every internet dom that has come into my inbox on my Shadows X Magic page, I wouldn't be rich, but like I'd have at least $100. Like there's been so many people that have just been like coming into my inbox. Can you bust my balls? Or hey, I'm a dominant. And like, okay, and and then they say like little ridiculous shit like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm gonna make you my bitch, or like you're my bitch, get on your knees, slut. And I'm just like, first of all, consent, bitch. Second of
These
all, don't come
guys
at me like
just
that.
these guys just pull up and think that just because they can say the word bitch or slut, that somebody is supposed to just bow down and skip to them. I mean,
And
bow down and submit to them. And it's just like, no, that's not how it works. And
it's
this is
funny.
why I say that submission is earned and not given. Because if it was given, then shit, if it was that easy, I probably would have had 100 subs right now. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
feel that.
if it's really that fucking easy, I mean, that's not something I turn around and do and whatever. But no, if it was that goddamn easy to go and get a sub, oh yeah, I'm DMing all of them the same way.
I feel
But
that
that's
1000%, man. And it's so funny because I feel like with the people that do that, it's like they're really comfortable with strangers enough to project their misogynistic points of views and all of these different elements onto other people because they'll never meet these people in real life and they know that. So it's like, don't be using me as your own little personal fucking cum bucket. Like that's not what this is for. Like the only person's cum bucket that I am is my dominance, So it's like and that's assuming that I have one. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just ill. It's just
very
so
no
icky to
comment.
me.
that
Definitely.
was very well put.
Right. Absolutely. 1000%. And this has definitely been such an amazing podcast. I have to say, you are brilliant. And I really do appreciate you for coming on here. So, can you do me a favor? Can you go ahead and let the audience know how they can contact you and how they can find you on social media and any websites you may have?
Sure. If you wanted to contact me, you can contact me at my Instagram, NYC underscore Brims. That is NYC underscore Brims, BRIMZ. Um, I also have a website. It's spelled the same way, NYC Brims, no underscore .com. Um, where you can find some of my hats there currently. I have more on the way that should be in about 2 months. Plus, I have jerseys and shirts on the way as well. If you wanted to contact me to ask me other questions as well as about BDSM or just finding out information about the community, I'm always here to answer people's questions. I'm more than willing to help you to navigate through whatever you need to know.
Sharing your information with our audience, I'll make sure that I leave your information and your details, your websites, your social media down in the, I believe it's called the description. And I'll make sure that they can find you. And for those of you that want to know, my name is Cassandra again, and my website is magickofeden.com. And you can find me on social media at Magick of Eden. And if you want to enter the shadows, you can do so by following Shadows X Magic. And so, the magic ends with a K. So for Magick of Eden, it is Magick. And for Shadows X Magic, it is Magick. So
I
this
might
has
have to see
been,
about entering some shadows myself.
oh, go right ahead. You have my full permission. My page is public, so anyone can enter the shadows as long as you're being respectful, of course, but knowing you, that won't be a problem. And I'm pretty sure I'll see you there, right?
Absolutely.
I suck at flirting. I just want you to know. I am the worst at flirting. I just feel so awkward.
It's okay. That's you pulling out the feminine energy a little bit more when you're so used to having to carry the masculine.
Yeah, like it's definitely something. And I'm not gonna lie, I really do enjoy our dynamic. It's pretty interesting. You being a Scorpio and all, I'm a Capricorn, so what's the deal? I'm just kidding. But seriously, Scorpio
No,
is
I
so amazing.
definitely enjoy this dynamic also. You have kept me 1,000% engaged during this conversation. You really actually did challenge a lot of my logic with them. And then you think about things in a few different perspectives. I
Oh,
enjoyed it.
I just think it's so amazing because with you being a dominant, it's like, damn, like this person who's submissive is teaching me some shit. All right, like I'm here for it. Like, I mean, outside of BDSM, like it's good to, in a sense, like just learn from different people. So I'm glad that I was able to shake up some of those chords in there. So yeah, like I really did enjoy this dynamic. I learned some new things from you. And I really do love the energy. Like your energy is amazing. I will have to give
Thank
you that.
thank
I
you,
have
thank
to give you that. So I'll make sure I follow you on Instagram. And if I see what I like, I'll let you know. And I might buy something from you. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. I'll support you.
fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
I'll support you. We'll see. I might support you in other
Absolutely.
ways, but I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm being so
Anything
naughty.
and everything is welcome.
Well, I hope that you don't have a submissive because if you do, you're in trouble. They're gonna listen to
Mm.
this like, who is that?
And she would enjoy having this conversation if she did
Really?
exist.
Wow. Well, all right. That sounds like an invitation, but I'm gonna keep that at face value. All right,
If,
Calvin. Well,
if you
enough.
want to know more, you can always DM me for the address.
Wow. That's funny. You're kind of smooth, but not smooth enough, my friend. There was a little bit of bumps in there.
I tried.
No, you better. I'd say you were hitting on me, but it's okay. I mean, I'm irresistible, so I'm just kidding.
No, they say that the black the berry, the sweeter the juice, right?
Wow. I mean, when you put it that way, I am a little bit dark on the darker side.
Mm.
Oh my God, this is so great. But anyways, you guys hear how corny I am. It's so weird and it's so annoying. Like I'm gonna listen back at this podcast, like, what the fuck was I doing?
You see how I bring the flirtatious side of her out that she wants to start to. show off more that energy that she wants to carry. See, this is how you assert yourself as an effective woman.
Wow. You are just, your ego is just so inflated like a balloon right now, huh? It's like a hot air balloon of ego.
That's
It's what
right. One big old hot air balloon that could sail across the Atlantic.
I will pop that damn thing.
You try your best.
Try my best. Oh, bad.
Try
I think
your
that's a
best.
challenge. That sounds like a challenge.
Take
That,
it as you want. I'll be here waiting.
wow. I think we're gonna have to continue this conversation off the podcast. So anyway, you guys, thank you all for listening. It has been such an amazing time here. I've had such an amazing time. I actually transcended time being with you all, and it is always good to be in good love and good light and high vibes. I will see you all in the shadows. Have a good night, guys. Thank you, Tribe, for tuning in to this podcast episode and holding sacred space with me. I have enjoyed our time here. In case you need to reach me, you can visit my Instagram at Magick of Eden. There you'll find witchy tips and info, daily inspirational messages, and more. Be sure to visit me on Twitter at Magick of Eden, where I share visions, prophetic messages, daily insights, and more spiritual messages. You can also visit my website at Magick of Eden to purchase high vibrational ritual items to aid you on your transformational journey of becoming your highest version. I'm looking forward to connecting with you and the divine.